Okay, looks like everything is working good now. So let me start over. This whole idea of success talks was the brainchild of Sade Thompson, who's been working with us to. Can you hear me now? Okay, Ricky.
Oh, I
Yeah,
can hear you loud and
yeah.
clear, man.
Can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
No problem.
No problem.
Okay.
Excellent.
This is the brainchild of Sade Thompson, and Sade said that many of the people who had written a piece in the 12 Universal Laws of Success, many of the achievers, we needed to sort of follow up and see how everything was working with them right now, see how the book changed their lives and where they started from and where they are right now. And one of the people that I had to, here we go. So one of the people that I had to reach out to was that Ricky Young. And Sade said to me, she said, and I was giving her a little history of the book and of our relationship. And I said, this is one person who was there at the very beginning and who I've watched grow from when I met him. He was a personal trainer and a boxer and whatnot. And now he's a talk show host and he's really grown to create incredible things and achieve great success. And so Ricky is one of the super achievers in the book. And I want to preface this by reading his comments from page 206. And it says, the 12 Universal Laws of Success has made a huge difference in my life. It is one of the books that inspired me to start What's in Your Hand, a motivational radio show. I have now hosted over 800 shows interviewing authors, entrepreneurs, athletes, artists, and high achievers. This is a book that I continue to read and reread, especially when I have a challenge that I'm dealing with. Thank you, Dr. Harris, for writing what I call my guide for successful living. Wow. Hey,
Mm,
Ricky.
mm.
Awesome, awesome, awesome.
I love
So
that.
now, with this message, I'd love for our listeners to get a little sense of where you come from, a little about your background, Ricky.
Well, I was born in a place called Savannah, Georgia. And my mother, as a young lady, decided to, take a chance, move to New York City, Harlem. She had some family up there and she wanted something different. She wanted something for her child. And so she moved to Harlem. A lot of family members were here. And I grew up in Harlem. I grew up in the housing development, they also call the projects, which actually was a nice place to live at that time. At that time, projects was nice. And that's where I grew up. I got into sports. I started liking sports, playing basketball, and eventually, got into boxing. And boxing, I did it. I did it well. And then I stopped for a while, for about 5 years. And I had this illusion I was going to be an NBA basketball player. I kind of love basketball, love the game. And then 5 years later, I met someone. He invited me to the gym, and it went from there. I went on. I had a box of the USA Olympic team. Traveled with the USA Olympic team internationally. Went to Ireland and boxed. Had a few fights as an amateur, and then turned professional. As a matter of fact, my last amateur bout in Ireland, I sustained the hairline fractured jaw in that match in Ireland. Had to come back all the way from Ireland with a fractured jaw because they wasn't going to do the work until I got to the United States. So coming home on the plane, couldn't eat.
Wow.
And some of the guys I was with said, "Hey man, you gonna eat that, man? You gonna eat that? Come on, come on, man."
Yeah.
So I can't eat it. So that was just a funny thing. I just thought the guy was like, "No, I can't eat." He said, "Hey, you gonna eat that?"
Yeah. Don't let it go to waste, man.
That's what. There you go. There you go. So when I came back, I got my jaw wired up, and I continued training. But that says something to me at that time about who I was, because something like that can distract you from like moving forward.
Mm-hmm.
that was out of the question.
Wow.
That wasn't even a thought. I knew I was moving for it. As a matter of fact, my next match after that was as a professional boxer, as a professional. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that said a lot to me, man, about who I am, who I became, and a lot of it, you know, especially once I got into personal development, really shaped who I am as a person.
Wow. That's deep, Ricky, because, you know, after you might say after a great injury, to come back stronger than ever.
Yeah.
I think that seems to be the repertoire of the champions.
Yeah.
No matter what it is, they come back strong. Okay.
So another thing that happened, I got into this thing called personal development, which was a little bit after boxing. It wasn't actually doing, but it was after boxing. And in Harlem, we had a place called the Mart 125. And a lady named Isis had a bookstore right on the first floor. When you come in right to the left, she had about 2 or 3 spaces together. She had a nice, beautiful bookstore. She had a lot of beautiful books in there. I used to go in there and see Isis and go in there and look at the books. And one day I went in there and I looked. I'm looking around. I'm a fan of personal development. All of a sudden I see this book, this yellow book. I said, Isis, what's up? What's the deal with this book? She said, oh yeah, it's a guy, you know, he comes in from time to time. He wrote this book. And I don't know how it came about, but she said, he's a black man. I said, what? He's a black man. Are you sick? I said, no. I bought the book immediately. Immediately. Started reading the book. And then, back then I had more courage than I have now because I reached out to Dr. Herbert Harris. And we made a connection. We made a wonderful connection. But it started with Isis, man. I will never forget her. She has made her transition. I love her forever. Having that bookstore and had that book there. And I saw it. And she just, the way she explained it to me, she says, yeah, you know, he comes in here from time to time. Mart 125 on 125th Street. And that book was sitting there.
Ricky, that was a different world then, man. There was so much cultural activity on 125th Street. The book, the 125 Mart had a bunch of small black businesses. Isis was one of the premier businesses. Ben Armstead and his wife, they had theirs, and there were a number of businesses operating there. And I think that was in response to, you remember when they started, let's say so-called cleaning up 125th Street, and they wanted to drive the merchants off the street because a lot of the guys were selling books and stuff right there on the street. We sold thousands of books on the street there, the street merchants. And then they let them into the 125 Mart to sort of clear the street. But you know, the 125 Mart was like the next evolution after the Tree of Life. Did you remember the Tree of Life?
I was a very small child. I had been in the store a couple of times. I remember going in the store, but I was too young to really comprehend what was going on.
Well, Isis came out of the Tree of Life. There had been a department store on 100 and there had been a department store on 125th and Lenox Avenue. And when the store closed, and Kanya Kakumba set up the Tree of Life bookstore. And so he had a huge facility, it had been like a furniture or clothing store or something. And so he had classes in meditation and yoga. He had a tremendous bookstore, J.A. Rogers, Dr. Ben's books. My first book was How to Make Money in Music. That book was there. And Isis was one of those spiritual people that was coming there doing classes in the Tree of Life.
Wow.
Yeah. And that thing became so powerful. You know, many times systems resist growth. And so the political people of the time wanted that space because Harlem was beginning to develop now. The state office building was just getting started, in the works, and that building there. That right now on that spot is where Marshall's is. Marshall's and that CVS on the corner. That's where the Tree of Life was. And they wanted that space so badly. And I mean, they came after Kanye with lawyers. I mean, they were after him. And there were two reasons. One, they wanted the real estate, but also Kanye had lifted up a group of spiritual healers. I don't know if you remember John Harris.
Sure, I remember John Harris.
Yeah,
Of course.
John. Dr. Sabi was one of Kanye's friends. All of that Tree of Life, even Dr. Ben used to come in there and do talks. The Tree of Life was like an oasis in the sea of reality. It was an alternate reality, a spiritual reality, and a growth reality. And so it's very logical that ISIS came out of there into the 125 mark, and that you then found the book. So, you know, Ricky, when you found the book as a young person, what was your impression when you started reading it? What did you get from it initially? What was that thing that was coming at you?
Well, the main thing that I got, first of all, just that the fact that, just that a black man wrote the book, because the time when I was getting into personal development, most of the guys that I seen were white men. They were writing all the books. I mean, they were great books. I loved the books, talking about success, but I didn't see a lot of black. The black guy that I did see was Les Brown.
Mm-hmm.
And eventually, I got a wind of Dr. Dennis Kimbrough.
Mm-hmm.
So, but what I got from the book is just that, it was like a guide. It was a guide. It was a guide to, to life. And, one of my favorite things that I haven't really mastered yet, but the chapter on focus, the law of focus, is one of the most powerful laws. The law of focus is a superpower.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of the chapters in the book. So that's one of the things that really stood out for me, is that the law of focus is very, very powerful.
Well, I remember when you were starting your radio program, and it's very funny, how people can have a perception. I remember you said, I want to have a radio program. And, the normal response, the world mind would say, oh, okay, Ricky, do you have a degree in radiology? Have you been to communication school? Did you get the type of training that a person gets to be on the air on a radio station? And you basically said, I just want to do it. I just want to do it. And when you started, I think we were the first program on your show.
Absolutely. You were on the very first show. The very first show.
Yeah. But I heard something there. When you were sharing that, I heard your gift. And one of the things that when we wrote the 12 Universal Laws of Success, one of the thoughts that I had was that everybody has a gift. And, when we talk about, you said something in your comments about obstacles, that whenever you got into the corner, like in the fighter, when you're in the corner and the guys got you in the corner, that you would go to the 12 Universal Laws of Success to find a solution. And that was one of the reasons, one of the, I'd say motivating pieces behind the book, and the way the book was written, the way it was. If you think about David and Goliath, many of us have a Goliath in our lives. And a Goliath is an obstacle, something that's trying to take us out. Okay. And when we have to confront that Goliath, we have to do something. And the spiritual interpretation of David was, he looked around. He didn't run out to take a quick course in giant killing. He looked around to see the stones, and stones are symbolic of the things you know for sure, rock solid knowledge. And he had a skill. When you're confronted with a situation, it's important to have a skill. So he had a skill, and he took that skill and used his rock solid knowledge to take out the joint. And so it's ironic that your program, What's in Your Hands, that was basically the scripture that the Congressman Adam Clayton Powell, you often play his speech, What's in Your Hands, on your program. That was the scripture that he pulled that from. And so it's sort of unified in the book and personified through you.
Right. Wow.
Yeah. How did you pick that topic? What's in your hand?
You know, there was a program that used to come on. You might be too young. You might be too young to remember this, Dr. Harris. There was a guy by the name of Gil Noble. He had a show called Like It Is.
You know, I know Gil. I know Gil.
So the
tall,
show
handsome
was called
guy, man.
Like It Is. Huh?
Yeah, a tall, handsome man. Yeah.
Yeah. So he had a show called Like It Is. And he did a documentary show once on the Reverend Dr. Clayton Powell Jr. At the end of the program, this speech comes on. And I'm sitting there, I'm in my mother's apartment, and I'm watching this program. And it sometimes things have impact on you and you don't really realize the impact it has on you. Because one day, once I got up to the radio station, and Wally Nurikhan came up to me in the hallway, he says, I was doing segments. He says, you have to come up with a name for your segment. I'm gonna be honest. I don't know why I said, what's in your hand? He says, okay, yeah, that sounds like that. Wow. And yeah. And so one day I mentioned to a guy, I said, yeah, I got the radio program. What's in your hand? And he said a smart remark. I was like, oh no, I gotta change it. So I went to the general manager, said, hey, I want to change the name. He said, nope, keep that name. I was ready to let the name go. But man, that name, that term has helped so many people listening to the program, have been inspired and lifted by that what's in your hand.
Wow.
Words, yeah.
Well, you know, Ricky, I love to hear stories of growth and evolution, because you just shared a principle there, how when you're on the right track, it's like, you know, when you have a garden, I have a garden outside, and I plant flowers, Sandra's into flowers. And I mean, we spend a lot of time and money making this garden beautiful. But guess what? We don't have to plant weeds. The weeds automatically come.
Yeah, yeah.
And so you have a good idea of what's in your hands, and a weed came up. A weed came up and made you, you know, possibly to doubt yourself, to think maybe, you know, you listen to that weed talking like maybe they're right. But thank goodness, many times when you go to another person, they can kind of help you stay on track. And I'm so glad the station manager said, no way. Many times people will recognize the diamond that you have before you see it completely yourself.
Right. How about that? How about that?
Yeah.
I was going to change it for sure.
Wow. And now some of the people you've interviewed, man, share some of that, because I know some, but I mean, you've interviewed from the top to the bottom.
Well, Les Brown, Dr. Dennis Kimbrough, Willie Jolly, Bob Proctor, Jack Canfield. Wow, quite a few. Bob Marley's daughter, Indy Iree's mother. You know, it's been amazing. But I want to tell you this quick story though, real quick. When you're on the right track, you know, here's when you know you're on the right track. Because here's something I did then that I probably wouldn't do now. I found out that I would go to these seminars and workshops in different cities, like, you know, close by, close to New York, Boston, Baltimore, Philly, you know, right in the, you know, 4 or 5 hours the max away. And I would take the Greyhound bus. So what I would do, I would leave. I would get the last bus, usually like around 11, 12 at night. If I ride that 4 or 5 hours, then it's early in the morning. So my money was kind of tight. So at the time, so I wouldn't have to stay in the hotel. I just go to the workshop, go, you know, hang out for a little while, go to the seminar. Seminar's over, come right back home.
Wow.
So I had heard that Dr. Dennis Kimbrough was speaking in Baltimore. I went. It was actually a free event. It was like one of those, it was like it was a Black History thing, something like that, but it was free. And I went, saw Dr. Kimbrough speak, spoke to him, met him and everything. And when I got to the city, when you go to certain cities, I don't know if they still have it, things have changed. They used to have these boxes. And they would have a city paper with information about the city. So I would get the paper, look through it. So I get the paper, I look through it, and they had this seminar coming up called Get Motivated. I said, oh, this looks interesting. They had a whole bunch of speakers. And at different times, they had different prices. I know it was 19. I don't know if it was $19. One time it was $29. Another time it was $49. They had different prices. I don't remember. It might have been like 19 or something like that, whatever it was. They had speakers all day, from the morning, all day. And they sold so much product. Unbelievable. So I'm looking at the paper. I said, you know what? I'm going to go. Now, talking about being on the right track, on the right path. I go, get that Greyhound bus, get that last Greyhound bus, go to the city. I don't remember what city it was. No, it was Baltimore. It was Baltimore. Back to Baltimore. So get there. They would usually have these things at an arena.
Mm-hmm.
And they would usually have like whoever's in sports, a sports star or coach from that area.
Mm.
Right? And they have Zig Ziglar and all these different people on the program. Like a whole log of people.
Mm.
So when I got there and I'm walking to the arena, who do I see? I see the team coming in to that's a part of this program. I said, hey, how y'all doing? What's going on? I said, hey, how you doing? Hey, you wanna help us out? You wanna volunteer? I said, yeah, of course. So I didn't have to pay to get in. I was on the volunteer team. I was helping them out. Sold a lot of product. At the end of the program, they gave me I forgot, when they give you a little payment.
Yeah, a little honorarium, stipend.
A little honorarium.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And it was like, wow. I didn't have to pay to get in and got paid. Then there was a guy named Dan Kennedy. I don't know if you're familiar with Dan Kennedy.
Yeah.
He sold all his product.
Yeah.
I never seen nobody sell like this guy. I never seen this guy sell the way this guy know how to sell. He sold everything, came off the stage, was taking questions, and he was taking orders. And he gave us an honorarium also. He always would give us an honorarium. So now I got paid twice.
Whoa.
Dr. Harris.
Yes.
I went there, I'm thinking I might pay to get in, sit there and watch the program. I'm a part of the program now and got paid not once, but twice.
Wow.
And I went to 5 different cities with that team. It was called Get Motivated. A guy named Peter Lowe was running, him and his wife. And I think they had like a split up, and I don't know what happened after that. But I went to 5 different cities with these guys, volunteering, helping out.
Yes.
And then that to show you, like, when you're on the path, you got courage to go for your dream. That's what I did.
And you know something, Ricky? It's funny. I spoke at the Unity Church last Sunday, and one of the points I was making is that when you do what you love, in other words, nobody made you go down there. You did it because you wanted to know. So you do what you love, you do what you're good at, and to be willing to do it for free. Yeah. And see, many times, many people miss opportunities because they want to get paid, to do anything. I'm not going to work here for free. I'm not going to work for nothing. But it's like when you come with a willing spirit, a spirit to say, you know what? Yeah, a willing spirit. Like, I want to be inside this place. I want to be a part of this. And, they saw something in you. I mean, they reached out to you. They saw a vibration coming from you that you wanted to be there. And the opportunity, that's the law of attraction in action. Mm-hmm. When you want something really badly and you don't worry about the how. Now, when you got on that bus, you had no idea that was going to happen, number one.
No, not at all.
And absolutely no idea of how it was going to go, that you were going to go to 5 cities, that you were going to be a part of something that big. Mm-hmm. But that's one of the secrets of life. When we talk about the law of vision now, even though your vision may not be totally clear, but if you get into the feeling of it, and one of the things about action, a person will say, I want to do something, but then they don't take action. The fact that you went to Baltimore and you figured that stuff out, you're like, I don't have enough money. I don't have a lot of money. I can go there sleep on the bus. So that's like my hotel. get there in the morning, catch the show, get the bus back. And I have had sleeping quarters and didn't have to pay for a hotel, but I got the message.
Right, right.
And that's the kind of stuff you have to. I wish we could teach our young people how to be resilient, how to figure it out. You remember you interviewed Tawana Williams, remember?
Yes, yes,
Yeah. And Tawana was born with no arms.
yes.
Now, as she said one time, that could be a problem. Okay.
Right.
You're born with no arms. But she said that one of the keys, her breakthrough was when her grandmother would not do something for her. When everybody kind of said, you're going to have to pull your own pants down to go to the bathroom, you're on your own. That's right.
Woo!
She said they left the house and she had to go to the bathroom, and they said, her grandmother said to her, figure it out. And so many times when we face obstacles, the purpose of that obstacle is to teach you to be resilient and figure it out. And when you do that, though, you open a door. It's almost like when you do that kind of stuff, Ricky, it's almost like you priming the pump.
Right.
You know, down in the country, they always keep that water next to that pump, because if you don't put some water in that pump, you don't get anything out.
Right.
So you may put in a cup of water and get out 10 gallons of water with that pump working. And so when you have that open spirit, that open heart to say, I want to do it, I want to go for it, you're priming the pump. And when you're willing to confirm your desires by action, everybody has dreams and desires. But when you confirm them by action, by getting there on the bus, and, you know, going there really with not really knowing how it's all going to work out. You know, when we went to the March on Washington, 1963, we actually hitchhiked. I was a college student. We hitchhiked. And as I'm going down there, we hitchhiked with this African guy. And as I'm on the trip, I'm like, where are you going to stay? What are you going to eat? How are you going to get back? Okay. All that was on my mind. But I think for our young people and for everybody, doesn't matter your age. These principles work regardless. So we get down to DC. First, the guy they rode with, he dropped us off because you couldn't drive downtown. You know how they have it all blocked off and everything. So we tried to agree on how we were going to connect back up, but we weren't even sure. One of the things that the vibration at that time that had people fearful was like, you're going to have 250,000 Black folks down there and they're going to fight and riot and all kind of crazy stuff. So people were scared. You know, people were really scared, but we stepped out on faith. We got there, got out. After he dropped us off, I go to the area, the staging area for the parade. And the first bus I saw had Wilmington, North Carolina on it. And there was one of my friends who was born the same day I was in the same hospital. And he had a big briefcase, looking very professional. And I said, man, I'm so glad to see you, Arnold Robinson. And I said, man, I am hungry. He said, well, look, he opened up the briefcase. I thought it was papers full of chicken sandwiches. You know, in those days, man, when Black people travel, you couldn't go to the dining cars on the train, and a lot of the bus stations didn't want to serve you. See, a lot of people don't remember that. That's the way it was. Many of the bus stations, they say white only. You got to go eat. That's on you. And so Black people learn how to carry. We used to call it the chicken and biscuit bucket. Chicken and biscuit bucket. We carry a shoebox with chicken sandwiches and biscuits because the other white people wouldn't serve you. And so he had a briefcase. He was trying to be uppity. He had a briefcase, but he still had those chicken sandwiches in there.
Right.
Yeah. But that, once again, that's stepping out on faith, man. So, Ricky, over the years, you've done so much. You were talking about the law of thought, the law of focus. How have you really applied the lessons in other ways, you know, in doing the things that you've been doing?
Well, one of the ways is that I was teaching boxing at Columbia University, and one of the students was in my class. We were reading this book called Think and Grow Rich. And so we were studying this. So we left out the school, and the school was like a big crowd around. And we went me to the other school, Barnard, to the cash machine. So we went over there to the cash machine, and he went to the cash machine. I saw like a flyer by the elevator. So I went and read the flyer. I said, "Oh, Deepak Chopra." I said, "Oh, Deepak Chopra." I said, "When?" So I'm talking to myself. When? Today. What time? Now. So he got the money. I said, "Hey, come with me." So we went across the street to the theater. I think it was called the Miller Theater at the time.
Uh-huh.
Walked into the area where they're speaking, walked up to the stage. So the program was over pretty much. And he was just, talking to people on stage. Went up on stage and got a chance to speak to Deepak.
Wow.
I said, "Hey, Deepak, I want you to come to Harlem to speak, man. How can we make that happen? What are we going, He says, "Okay, we're going to do it." I said, "Yes, all right, I'll do it." I went to see him it was either 5 different occasions, different places he was speaking and went. And every time he was signing the books, I would come, "Hey, Deepak, I want you to come to Harlem. I want you to come and speak." He says, "Okay, we're going to do it." So this went on 5 different places. So one day I used to teach at a place on 57th Street and 2nd Avenue. So I would take the bus. I would take the bus to Madison Avenue and go up Madison. So I get to Madison Avenue. I'm standing there on the bus stops on 58th Street, and then number 2 bus. I'm standing there waiting for the bus, and who do I see walking down the street? Deepak Chopra. I'm looking like,
wow.
So he turns in the block. Now I had reached out to him on a few occasions, 5 different occasions. I said, "You know what? I'm not, you know what? I'm not messing with it, man. That, I made an effort." And then that voice says, "No, go." So I went to the corner and looked to see where he was going. And he went into the Four Seasons Hotel. You could go in from the 57th Street or you go from the 58th Street side. He went in through 58th Street. So I went in, went up there, went up the steps, went to the desk and said, "Hey, I'm here to see Deepak Chopra." The guy said, got on the phone, called Deepak. Deepak put Deepak on the phone. Said, "Hey, Deepak, this is Rick Young. Hey, I want you to come to Harlem to speak." And he says, "How'd you know I was here?" I said, "No, I saw you when you came in." He says, so he gave me the number to his people.
Wow.
And then we started working on it. But I was not clear that it was going to happen until 8 days before the event.
Wow.
8 days. So when I got the go ahead, he's coming, we're going to do it, it's going to happen. I says, Dr. Harris, sometimes you got to talk to yourself. I says, "Hey,
yes.
8 days?
Yes.
That's not enough time to really promote an event."
Mm-hmm.
And I said, "You know what? It's Deepak Chopra. I got to do it."
Yes.
And so I did it. And I did it. I went for it. So what do you call those? Those are practicing the laws. How do you shape that up as far as practicing the laws?
Well, one of the key, that's the law of persistence.
Yeah.
You hung in there. Everything requires persistence.
Yeah.
And the heart of persistence is discipline. Because you said you didn't want to do it, but it made you do it. The discipline says, I got to.
That last time, I was like, man, you know what? I was like, no, man. You know what? That's.
But you made that step.
Enough. Huh?
But you made that extra step.
Yeah, that voice says, go do it. You got to do it.
Well, Ricky, I think one of the lessons is to learn, in the book, we talk about harmonic relationships, that relationship between you and your source.
Right.
And that source is that well of infinite knowledge, that vibration that's always there, that's always telling us what's right. It's just that so many times we have so much stuff going on, it drowns out the voice, or we simply ignore it. When that voice says turn, turn. When that voice says one more time, do it. That's how that spirit speaks to us, man. The other day, I'm a creature of habit. I go the same way when I come from I had been out to the cleaners. When I come back, I go the same way. This particular day, something said, don't go that way, go another way. And one of the things for our listeners is that when the Spirit talks, listen. See, and the Spirit doesn't, it doesn't make a lot of noise. It's always a soft voice. It's just something saying, do it and be obedient. So instead of turning left, I went straight the long route, came down. I got up 2 blocks to the light, and it's a one-way street. And there was an elderly man. I'm sitting there right at the light, and there's an elderly man coming the other way, getting ready to turn the wrong way down a one-way street. And this is one of those streets that people come through there firing. They come through there like they're on the way to a fire. Okay. I was there at that very moment, and I blew my horn, boo, 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 boo. And he looked up at me, and I'm telling him one-way street, and I'm pointing this way, and he turned quickly and got out of the way. And he pulled up next to me. He said, thank you so much. Thank you so much. If I hadn't been there, and the funny thing was, there was not a car behind me. So if I hadn't been there, nobody would have been there. He'd have made that left turn and could have gotten killed. So for our listeners, when we talk about harmonic relationships, in the book, we talk about alignment, to be tuned in to your source, to the creator by whatever name. And that when you're obedient and listen, man, that you can accomplish things that you had no idea. Don't worry about the how. you just go on and do what you got to do. Wow.
Right.
Man,
well, that
Ricky,
voice,
yeah,
yes. That voice is saying to me right now, I'm wearing my power positivity hat.
Yes.
That voice is speaking to me right now saying, you need to have a 12 universal laws of success cap on. Because I wear all my caps are positive: self-discipline, PMA, positive mental attitude, success mindset, success habits, keys to success, positive energy, positive self-motivation.
Wow.
And self-control, all my hats, right? But I got to have a 12 universal laws of success cap.
Well,
that's
Ricky,
next on the agenda.
It is done. It is done. Let's do it,
yes.
man.
Yeah.
Well, hey, Ricky, we've gone on for a good bit, man. Any final words that you'd like to share with our listeners about how your life has been transformed, or how you use this book and how you intend to go forward?
Well, I use it, daily. Whenever, like I said, I have a challenge, I can pick up the book. And what I might do sometimes I don't go to a specific page. I just open the book and see what comes out and read it, and I share that for the day. I've been doing that with a lot of different people that I text a lot of people with a positive message. And so I'll just open the book up, and whatever comes up for that day, that's the message that I share with them for that day. And that has really been great. I mean, it's helped a lot of people. I've said, thank you so much. That message was right on time. Thank you. So, that's one of the things I like to do. And let's see, I just opened it up now. And the law of action. Law of action. Okay. Law of action. There we go. So it's time to get to action.
Yes.
It's time to get to action. That's what just opened up just now. So I do that, from time to time, and open up that book, just open it up and see what comes out.
Wow. I tell you, Ricky, I'm so proud of you, man. You have taken an idea like a seed, and you've planted it and nurtured it, and you've let it grow.
Thank you.
I'm super proud of you. Thank you so much for being a super achiever. Thank you for being a contributor. And thank you for really being what I like to think the book in life. This book is just paper. The real value of this book is in the lives of young people just like you, older people in general, just like you, who've taken it and made it a part of their lives. And I still thank you.
Let me just say this. The best is yet to come.
Absolutely. Let's say it together. The best
is yet
to come. And so it is. Thank you, everybody.
All right.
This has been a Success Talk with Ricky Young, talk show host, boxer extraordinary, and most of all, a super achiever and my friend. I
Thank
appreciate
you.
you, Ricky. Keep up
God
your
bless.
great work, man. And thank you for your positive comments. Thanks for sharing this book with so many people to help transform their lives.
All right. God bless you, man.